Lord, grant me serenity. Give me patience and grace to deal with difficult people. That's all I got to say. Because if I keep running up on people that are down in a 10-foot hole, with a hook trying to grab me by the ankles and pull me down there with them, it ain't no better for me to react in a way that causes me to jump right down there and get down there on their level where they are. Difficult people. See, this is part of that whole metanoia thing I was talking about. Change the way you think. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to change the way I think. I'm trying to make it a positive situation even though it was negative. And instead of explaining it to you and trying to get somebody to side with me and seek justice, I'll spare you. But I've really got to learn how to deal as a truck driver. I've really got to learn how to deal with difficult people. When I say difficult people, I mean people that give you a hard time for doing your job. That's what I'm talking about. That can happen on the road. That can happen at a customer, a shipper, a receiver. It don't matter. You can run into a difficult person anywhere, a toxic person. And it doesn't do you any good to react to their negativity. That's very contagious, by the way, because it's part of your human nature. But it doesn't do you any better, it doesn't do you any good to react to it in the same way. The only way that you can react to it to make a difference is to react to a negative way, to react to something negative in a positive way. That's the only way that you can have influence on it to actually help it. Otherwise, it's just a black hole of negativity and it'll suck you right into it. And see, I'm a sucker for that because I fall for the bait almost all the time and I'm just sick of doing it. I'm sick of doing it. I'm sick of my emotions driving me to a point to pretty much mimic, if not outright clone, the vibration of another person that just so happens to be extremely negative. You guys get what I'm saying? Like, I was in a really, really, really good mood when I pulled in here. I mean, you guys heard me. I go into this receiver. I go in that door where that woman just stuck her head out staring at me because she can feel it. She can feel that I'm talking about her. She can feel it. She can sense it that I'm talking about her. Rude. Okay, extremely rude. Why? Because I did my job, because I delivered a load here, and she didn't want to deal with it. Again, I'm not going to give you details beyond that. I'm not going to give you any details beyond that. I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't need to explain it to you. I just need to explain that it's a negative situation and it impacted me instantaneously. I absorbed it like a sponge. And see, I have got to stop doing that. I've got to stop doing it. That's my downfall. If you guys have watched me for, so long, you know that I'm always a sucker and I always take the bait into a negative situation. And I let it affect me, and I'm just sick of doing that. I'm sick of doing that. I know, deep down, I know the truth. And the truth is what I just told you. That really, when it comes down to it, the only way that you can impact a negative situation is by responding in a positive way. That's all you can do. I mean, you don't have control over another person. They have their own will. If they choose to be that way, so be it. You know? But you have your own free will too, so you don't have to respond in a negative way. Think about it. You don't have to respond to that. You don't have to react to that. If you do choose to react to it, then you can react to it in a positive way. You know? That's why I'm saying I need grace to deal with situations like this, because there is a certain part, sometimes multiple times a day, but there's usually at least one part of each day where this happens to me and I go off the deep end. And I just go off. And my emotions start raging like a storm, and I'm just sick of dealing with it. I'm just being honest with you guys. I don't want to deal with it anymore. I'm just tired of it. Yeah, it settles back down, but then at the end of it, where have I gotten myself? Nowhere. So, there's got to be a way to overcome it, you know. There's got to be a way to just keep rolling, you know, and not be affected by it. Just choose. It's a choice. It's a choice. It's connected to your free will. It's a choice where you choose not to react negatively to negativity. It's a choice. Sometimes it might even be painful to choose to go the other way. Sometimes it might actually hurt. It might hurt your ego. It might hurt your feelings. It might hurt your emotions. But after so long, if you become an expert at it, you get good at it, anybody can overcome something like this. And I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to do it today. Maybe I should go talk to the woman and apologize for showing up with her freight. And say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your lunch break. I didn't mean to cause any issues for you. I'm just trying to do my job. It ain't nothing personal. So I'm sorry. Sorry for doing my job today and getting your freight here. But thank you for unloading me anyway. You know, that kind of thing. And I know what you guys are thinking, okay? How petty does one person have to be to make that big of a deal over something so benign? Well, honestly, it doesn't really matter how big or small a situation can be to have that kind of effect on me personally. It doesn't really matter. I think that, you know, me personally, I happen to be a pretty sensitive kind of person. Like, I can pick up on people's emotions quicker than just about anything. I can sense things in people, and I'm not proud of that. Like, I don't think that's a good thing. A lot of the times I don't think that's a good thing. I'm one of those people that, like, I can, like, easily feed off of somebody else's emotions. And because of that, I like to please people. I like to make people happy. Because that makes me feel better about myself, you know? I know that kind of sounds pathetic, but I tend to be kind of a people pleaser. I mean, I don't, does anybody know what I'm talking about? Can anybody relate to that? So whenever I feel like I did everything the way that I was told to do it, or the way that I should have done it, and I came through and somebody has that kind of reaction toward me, it sets me off. It tends to set me off. It bothers me. And that's just the kind of person that I am. I don't know why I'm that way. I just am. I like to affect people around me in a positive way. But then when somebody negative around me affects me in a negative way, I'm kind of reckless with it. Like, I don't know how to react other than to just absorb their negativity and let it control my own emotions. It's a weakness. It's definitely a weakness. It's not a strong point. And I've always been that way. Maybe there's something something deep down from my childhood that kind of caused me to develop in that sort of a way, where I like, maybe I tried to please my father in certain ways and I failed, and that affected me. Maybe it's something like that. I'm not trying to like focus on emotions. Men aren't supposed to talk about feelings. But seriously, like that, I don't know. I've been thinking about stuff like this lately, because I really do want to change. Like I want to be able to handle negative stuff in a different way than the way that I have handled negative things. Because I really, ultimately, I want to be unmovable. Like, I want to be able to stand the high ground and not be affected by anything, you know? And just be solid and rooted, you know, to where things don't affect me. Especially stupid, benign things that don't even matter, you know? So that's all I'm really getting at. So I've been thinking, I know that you guys, most of you, you don't like the driving and the talking style videos. You like to see me working back there and all that stuff. But I just have things that I feel like I want to get off of my chest, things I want to talk about. Just had an awesome conversation with one viewer, and he referred to me as I don't even remember exactly what I think he said a philosopher or something like that, which I thought was a pretty cool term. A trucker that's into philosophical things, and that's totally who I am. I think that kind of captures me. I'm also into psychological things, and I'm into ontological things, which ontology, that's really, it's the study of the truth of your being. That's what the term ontological means. It's studying the truth of who you really are, And most people, let's face it, are double-minded.
what do I mean by that? Well, basically, each person has a soul and a spirit and a body. Man, that's a nice house. Anyway, each person has a soul, a spirit, and a body. Okay? Your ontology would be who you really are. The factoring differential between the way you are and who you really are. Because let's face it, I think a lot of people, the way that they act, me included, I'm not trying to get out of this statement because it totally applies to me as well. Like, sometimes my behavior is in complete opposition to my ontology or the truth of my being. So basically, the way of my being and the truth of my being are two differentiating factors. Where am I going with this? Well, the next thing I would say that would have to make sense. By the way, this is Greenville. And I told you guys I was going to get a front-on shot of the courthouse. Well, that's what it looks like. Pretty awesome. Very picturesque. But anyway, the next statement that I would have to make after saying what I just said is that your makeup as a human being, being body, soul, spirit, your behavior obviously reflects your body, or in other words, the way you react on the outside to the world around you. And that's more connected to your body, right? Physical things. Your spirit is more connected to the inner parts of you. And most people, me included, I'm still trying to get this down and understand these things. I think everybody is, on one level or another, that there's an entire universe on the inside of you. And that would be your spirit being, right? There's a whole world inside of you. You might not even know that, but it doesn't change the fact that it's there. It might be dormant. You might not have access to it. You may have lost the key to the gate to enter into it. It may have been taken from you. And if you think all this stuff that I'm talking about is a bunch of nonsense, well, you might just be one of those people that you just don't realize. You don't realize what you are as a human being. See, there's a thing about human beings that separates us from the rest of everything else in creation. When our Creator breathed life into us and created us in their image, I'm talking about the Trinity again. We were created in their image, and we have the ability to do something that no other creature in the created order has the ability to do. We have the ability to create, co-create new spiritual beings. We just so happen to be on a higher level of the created order because we were made in the image of God. So, with that statement being said, it makes sense to say that we are actually more spirit than we are body. You may have heard this statement before, that we are not human beings experiencing spiritual things. We are spiritual beings experiencing human things. And I totally agree with that. I believe that. Or let me put it this way. We're not human beings having spiritual experiences. We're spiritual beings having human experiences. That's really who we are. And there's a whole other side beyond everything that we experience with our five senses. There's so much more to existence than what we sense with our bodies. I'm talking about the unknown. I'm talking about everything outside of what you experience as a human being on a day-to-day basis. That's what I'm talking about. And some people have tapped into that. Some people have understood that. Other people, not so much. Okay, and so me personally, because I happen to believe that and sense that and have experienced certain things that have solidified those statements and made them more tangible to me, I happen to have a strong belief in that statement that we are more spirit than we are body or soul. So that's what I mean when I say that I'm a sensitive person. Like, I can sense things. I'm not trying to say that I'm psychic or anything like that. I'm not trying to say that I'm special or anything like that. I think any human being, doesn't matter who you are, you can sense things because you're not just human, you're spirit. And okay, so going back to the whole ontological thing, because we are partially a body and mostly a spirit, we tend to be double-minded, like I was saying before. And so for a lot of us, me included, our behavior oftentimes doesn't reflect our spirit. It reflects our fleshly body, our limited shells we exist in on the outside. And all of our thought process and our ability to conceive things, it's all based off of a physical reality. Most people, they don't think about spiritual things. Or even if they do, sometimes perhaps they don't even realize that they're thinking about spiritual things. Maybe a lot of it's like subconscious, you know? It's like in a dreaming realm. Like when you sleep, you dream. That's like a whole other part of you that you don't have access to while you're awake. Most people don't. And so when I was talking about that lady back there at the Home Depot in LaGrange, Georgia, and her festering negativity that I could sense as soon as she opened the door and I made eye contact with her face to face, you know, I sensed several things by her reaction to me, by her reaction to the situation. I could sense several things about her. And I'm going to talk about some touchy subjects. I'm going to talk about some sensitive things. And I'm just, the whole point of this is to be honest and just to see where I'm going with this. Because what I'm about to cover over, I think, touches on a very common experience that everybody experiences on a day-to-day basis. The only thing is, we just don't like to talk about this stuff because it's not considered politically correct, and because everybody has their own opinion. And maybe that's all this is. Maybe this is just my opinion. Guys, a lot of times I can't even trust my own opinions, and I damn sure can't trust my own emotions a lot of times. And I don't like that. That bothers me. Because I'm finding that somewhere within me there is a rift between the truth of my being, which I'm learning more and more about day by day, moment by moment. Through each experience, I'm learning more about the truth of my being. But I'm finding that the way of my being is often in opposition with the truth of my being. Does that make sense? So there's like a tension inside of myself between the way of my being and the truth of my being. The truth of my being, I've already told you guys, I believe I'm a child of God. I don't just believe it, I know it. Like I've experienced that, you know. I've experienced moments, glimpses, glances of what it's like to feel whole, where that tension inside of me settles down and it melts away, and I feel wholeness. But then it goes away, it fades, and then the tension comes back. And I don't forget anything that I've experienced, so I know that it's like encounters with truth. And I'll be honest with you, there's some moments in time where, you know, somebody could slap me across the face as hard as they could and it wouldn't bother me. I would turn the other cheek, in other words, because I feel whole in that moment. But then there are other times when somebody looks at me and talks to me the way this woman talked to me because it annoyed her that I was there trying to do my job, and it just gets under my skin so bad that I almost explode emotionally and I go off the deep end over something so stupid and benign that doesn't even matter. And I think a lot of this unsettled tension in the outside world is all based off of the turmoil that each human being has on their inside world. It's an ontological issue. Am I making any sense? Does anybody get where I'm coming from? And everybody has their preconceived notions. Everybody has their own personal belief system. Everybody has formed their own opinions. Everybody has formed neurological synapses in their mind. We are creatures of habit. And we think similarly as human beings. But on the outside is a tension that's reflected by the tension that's on the inside. And it's all been tailored and specifically fitted to each individual. So, like, here's what I'm saying when I said I'm going to talk about some sensitive things. So there are things that I could pick up about that woman. There are things that I could pick up about her right off the bat. When I met eyes with her and I was face to face with her in that moment, there were a few things that I automatically picked up on, because I've seen and identified the same opinions and the same notions in other individuals. I'll give you an example, and here's where the sensitive stuff is. But I'm not afraid to talk about it, okay? I'm not. So first off, I could automatically sense that she did not like men, first of all. I sensed that in her. Where there was an area of connection there where she was cut off. Basically, there was a wall that she had put up. A boundary that was limiting her ability to identify with me as another human being. Because when she looked at me, she didn't look at me like I was a human being. She looked at me like I was a pain in her ass when she looked at me. She didn't see me as a human. Okay? The second thing that I automatically identified in her, and I'm not judging her, I'm just trying to identify the things that I sensed. And maybe I'm just completely off. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I'm not judging her. Okay? I'm not judging her at all, because every single thing about what I'm telling you about her that I sensed, she has a strong, justifiable reason to feel that way. And what reason is that? I don't know. I don't know why. But the second thing that I sensed about her is that she did not like white people, specifically white men. I sensed that in her. And I know I'm not trying to overreact. Don't think that I'm overreacting. Don't think that I'm judging. I'm not. I'm just trying to dissect the situation, because if I can go back and dissect each element of that experience that caused me to react that way, I think it's going to help me ultimately. If I can understand this one situation and wrap my head around all of it, then maybe I can use this understanding as a way to overcome the next situation that's going to try to trigger this weakness in me, to cause me to react in a negative emotional way. That's not doing anything to accomplish growth in me at all. It's just eating away, and it's deteriorating me on the inside. Am I making sense? You guys can do the same thing, I'm sure. If you can go back to an experience, a situation that you had with a certain individual and relive it, some of you probably don't want to do that. And I don't blame you. But me, like, I'm so sick of the negativity that I'm ready to face it head on. Because I know that somewhere deep down in there, there's an answer to it. And when I get that answer, I'm going to be able to overcome, and I'm going to be able to face any situation with any person, no matter how negative it may be. And it's not going to be able to touch me or affect me on the inside. I'll be able to affect it, and I'll be able to shift that situation. I'll have the strength within me to do that, but I'll be able to change it in a positive way. So yeah, I'm talking about racial things. I'm talking about gender things. Because when it comes down to it, the root of a lot of this negativity is coming from both of those things. She probably has a really good reason to not like white people. She probably has a really good reason to not like men. She's probably been hurt. You know? Maybe not, though. I mean, maybe sometimes a lot of that racism kind of stuff can be passed on from generation to generation. So if it's not her that was hurt, maybe it was her mother, maybe it was her father that was hurt in a racial kind of way. Maybe they passed that hurt down to her. I'm just being real about this stuff. Like, I'm not I'm not trying to fixate on it or make a big deal about it. I'm not trying to take sides with any of it. I'm just trying to label it and identify it. But like I said, maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but I'm just telling you what I sensed in the moment. So a lot of this behavior kind of stuff that I'm talking about, sexism, racism, all that stuff, on top of every other issue that any individual may have, is deep-seated. But guess what, guys? We're not born with that stuff. It has to be inherited somewhere along the way. It has to be indoctrinated into our psyche somewhere along the way. We acquire it somewhere along the way. We're subjected to it. At one point or another, we're subjected to it. I'm not trying to make a big deal about the fact that there's a black person out there that might be racist and might not like white people. There's plenty of white people out there like that are the same way. Doesn't matter if you're white or black, you can still be racist against the other side. You can. It's got nothing to do with your ethnicity. It has everything to do with a force that's behind all of it. The force is singular, but it has a different way of causing each side to react. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't matter what ethnicity you are. Okay, so I don't normally do this, but I'm sitting here editing this video right now in front of my PC, and I just want to add this thought to you. I want to add it to the video. I want you to think about this, okay? I'm talking about racism, and I'm talking about white racism, and I'm talking about black racism, and I'm telling you that it all comes from the same source. It's all racism. It doesn't matter which side it comes from. It's still racism. But I'd like to add here that according to history, black people actually have way more of a reason to be racist than white people do. That doesn't make it right, though. Okay? So this whole movement that I'm identifying right here, does it have justice on a human aspect, on a human level? Does it make sense? Yeah, it does. But that is still does not make it right. Now listen to the rest of what I have to say and tell me if you agree with me after you hear what I have to say. You can develop those mechanisms. They can become deep-seated within you. They can. It's no different than religion. Religion has the same kind of effect on human beings. And just like religion has a heavy influence on society, racism has a heavy influence on society. Anything that causes division, anything that categorizes and causes division within human beings is darkness. It's in opposition to the truth. And so what am I saying? I'm saying because on one level or another, all of us are subjected to society. On one level or another, racism and religion has the potential to affect every single one of us. You see what I'm saying? If that weren't the case, because I feel like I'm in complete, like my mental capacity, my understanding of it is that no, I'm completely against racism. I hate racism, just like I hate religion. At the same time, when I'm subjected to it on a face-to-face level and I'm standing in front of it, it still causes me to react in that humanistic kind of way, that limited kind of way. And it affects me and it offends me. It's like, no, I'm totally against racism. I am. But when I come face to face with somebody of a different race than me, and they're clearly holding that fact that I'm a different race, they're holding it against me, it still causes me to react in a negative way on an emotional level. You see what I'm saying? It still has an effect on me. No different with the gender thing. It's very similar to the sexism kind of thing. Like there are literally people of either gender, male or female, that look at other people of the opposite gender in a condescending way. And because they've experienced somebody of that opposite gender, they've had negative encounters and negative experience with somebody of the opposite gender, they hold that against every other human being that they come in contact with that has that particular gender. You see what I'm saying? And it can even work both ways. Like, there's probably males out there that don't like every other male on the planet. There's probably females out there that don't like every other female on the planet. See what I'm saying? I sense that too in people, especially in other males. I sense that in a lot of other males that I come in contact with, especially truck drivers. And I know that's like, I'm being judgmental now, right, for making that statement, but I've sensed that before a lot. And a lot of other truck drivers, you come in contact with them and they automatically want to go into competition mode, and they automatically start trying to reinforce their ego on you. You have become their test subject. You have become the person that they're gonna mess with to prove their point that they're better than you, that they're superior to you. And then you've got those special cases where it works in every single way, where there's somebody of another race, the opposite gender, and they are already acting on their defense mechanisms because you fall into all the criteria to trigger their defense mechanisms, because they believe in a cause that they are totally passionate about. They are going to be hell-bent on reinforcing their theory and reinforcing it on you. Does that make sense? Now, just in the recent past, I've actually heard some pretty crazy stuff. I've heard people, other human beings, say some pretty crazy stuff, and it just really, it affected me in a negative way. It really did. It affected me in a really negative way, and caused me to react in a really negative way. So my point is not to make emphasis on this, okay? But I'm just confirming to you what I've heard somebody else say. Now, I actually heard another human being And if we're talking about race and we're talking about gender, it was a black female. I actually heard her talking to somebody else, and she was purposely saying it loudly enough for me to hear it because she knew I was in her vicinity and she wanted me to hear what she had to say. But she actually said that white people cannot accept that the black race is superior to every other race on the planet. That's what she said. And she said it, like I said, in my vicinity. And so I'm just thinking, like, it didn't offend me as a white person. It didn't. Yeah, I'm white. I didn't pick the color of my skin. I just came into the world this way. I don't even identify myself as white. I identify myself as a human being. I don't identify other people of different ethnic backgrounds as whatever ethnic background or whatever color skin they may have. I don't identify them as that. Sure, they have the qualities and the characteristics, the physical features of that particular ethnicity, but I don't firstly and solely identify them as that particular ethnicity. I identify them and I see them as another human being. And what I mean when I say that is I identify them as having a commonality with myself, because they have a mind, they have a heart, they have a soul, they have a spirit, they have a body. Lastly, they have a body. But before they have a body, they also have all these other things. So what my question then becomes is, how are they affected? On the inside, the inner world that I was talking about, is their inner world more affected by what's on the outside, their body? Or is it more affected by what's on the inside, their spirit? Because ultimately that's going to distinguish the type of person that they are. You see what I'm saying? But no, my first instinct after I heard her say that was not, oh my God, I'm so offended, I can't believe a black person just said that. That was not my first instinct. First of all, I wasn't shocked that she said that. I wasn't. But secondly, it hurt me on the inside a little bit. It hurt me for her to think about the fact that there are many, many, many people of many, many, many ethnicities that think the same way she thinks. And it's a limitation. Why is it a limitation? Because ultimately it's a strategy that was meant to divide us as human beings. And where there is division, there is no unity. Division is the opposite of unity. And if you watch my last video, then you'll understand that our Creator is unity. They are unity. The Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, they are three in one. They are a unified relationship, perfectly unified, three in one, that have come together as one. I mean, I say they've come together, they've always been together as one. So anything that causes division is in complete opposition to our Creator. And so that hurts me. Not as a white person. I don't care. I don't give a crap that I'm white. That means nothing to me. The fact that I'm human and I have a spirit and a soul before I have a body, that means everything to me. Because like I said before, we are created in the image of God. And we have a special privilege that other beings in the created order do not possess. And regardless of whether you're white, black, whatever, Hispanic, Asian, whatever, it doesn't matter. The fact that you happen to be that particular ethnicity has nothing to do with that. The fact that you're human has everything to do with that. You have a special privilege. You have an ability to interface with God. And regardless of whatever you think makes you superior on the outside is completely obsolete. It has nothing to do with that fact. The third thing that I thought about after I heard her say that was this is madness. Because, okay, I'm not trying to make judgment here, but I do understand that there is a particular ethnicity that, you know, like Black Lives Matter, there's one particular ethnicity that they are in opposition to, and that is the Caucasian ethnicity. They're in opposition to everything about it. They are. Clearly, they are. But the ironic thing, the irony in it, is that if they really believe that they're superior, they're making the same erroneous judgment call that the Caucasian ethnicity made 200 years ago and beyond. They're repeating history. They're making the same mistakes. They're falling into the same downfall. They're taking the same bait that was taken way back then. They're identifying a specific ethnicity as having some kind of superiority over any other ethnicity. So they are dividing humanity. Ultimately, that's what they're doing. And what is the definition of insanity? It's repeating the same process and expecting a different result. That's the definition of insanity. You guys see my point that I'm trying to make here? So I know I'm getting into like these huge subjects. And talking about these huge, all of these things that I'm talking about are huge issues right now. And there's a reason why. Okay, these are big stories in the media right now, and there is a reason why. It's because it's completely relevant to this day and age that we live in, and it affects everybody. If you are a part of society, then like I said before, in one way or another, you are affected by this, because as human beings, we're all connected on a certain level. We came from the same life source. In each given moment in time, the present time, like presently, right now, we're all connected. We're all connected on a spiritual level. We're all connected to God, like I said in my previous video, and because of that, we're all connected to each other because we each came from God. So on some level or another, conscious or not, we're all affected by these things. And they're all forces and they're all strategies from darkness with one motive: to separate, to isolate. Because if we're isolated and we're separate and we're in division, like I said before, we're in opposition to our Creator. We're not in alignment with our Creator. We're not in agreement with our Creator. We're in opposition with our Creator. And if we continue to allow that to happen, do you see how we continue to allow darkness to overcome over us? And therefore, we continue to remain double-minded. But the moment we start to face these things boldly with love and truth, and we realize how privileged we are as human beings, that's the moment we can start to identify and come together, bring things together back in unity. Because if we ever understood what we truly are, darkness would become obsolete. It has no power, it has no effect on light. It cannot comprehend light. Now, I'm gonna let you guys go now. I know I just said a lot. Like, I hope I made sense. I hope, you know, you can interpret or comprehend what I'm saying in your own specific way. I mean, it feels like there's just constantly tension in the air in society. Like, the tension, it just hangs over us like a black cloud, a dark cloud, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just, tension, anger, fear, all of this negativity, it just hangs over humanity, and it affects us. It's literally, it's killing some of us. It's actually causing some of us to die. Fear, worry, shame, stress can give you a heart attack. It can give you a stroke. It can kill you. It can cause cancer cells to grow in your body if you allow it to. But see, if you can come to realize truth, then you can come to realize that all this negative garbage that clings to humanity cannot stand up to truth. It's powerless to truth. So anyway, guys, I don't really have anything else to say right now. I said a lot. I said a whole lot for part 2 of this video. And yes, I got very philosophical. I got very politically incorrect to be talking about these things. Talking about touchy subjects and touchy topics and everything. And like, dude, guys, like, I get it, okay? If you are black and you just listen to everything that I had to say, and there might be a certain part of you that could be like, how dare you judge me? How dare you assume that woman was thinking those things just because she was black, blah, blah, blah. That's your own issue. If that's what you thought when I told you those things, that I have issues, you're partially right. I do have issues. I'm trying to address them. I can't fix my own issues without making peace with the opposition. I can't, but I want to. I want to so bad. I hate racism. Just like I hate religion. I hate it. I hate sexism. A lot of the sexism is because religion is to blame for a lot of the sexism. Because religion has told humanity that males are superior over females, and that's not true. It's just not. Both are equal. Both are equally important. And it's the same thing with race, the same thing with ethnicity. Every race is important. Every ethnicity is important. Every culture is important. If we all came from God and we were all made in the image of God, that means that every positive aspect, and they might seem few and far between, but because things are so negative, but that's not true. There's way more positive things. Even about your particular race, there are way more positive things about your race than there are negative things. If people of different races can't see that, they're blind. And I believe that with all my heart. Like, there are things about black people, there are things about the black culture that are unique and special that no other culture, no other ethnicity can even come close to. That doesn't make them superior. There are things about each race, each ethnicity, each culture that are special and unique, that no other culture, no other race, no other ethnicity can even come close to touching. You know why? Because each specific race, ethnicity came from the same creator. And you know what that creator did? He used different aspects of himself to put into each specific culture. And you know what he did after that? He said, I'm going to give you the privilege as human beings to mix it all up the way that you see fit. Make it beautiful as I have made it beautiful. Intermingle. That's what the Trinity does. They intermingle, they connect with each other. They don't separate themselves. So if we were all made in the image of God, then why can't we do the same thing? Why can't we intermingle? Why can't we bring the best of what each of us have as each separate culture together? Why can't we do that? I've actually seen it before. In bits and pieces, I've seen it before. I have. And it's one of the most beautiful things that you could ever witness when different cultures come together and they bring the best that they have to offer. They bring all their differences and they bring them together. And they come to appreciate why they're different from each other. They come to appreciate it. It's a beautiful thing. I'm just saying, it's a beautiful thing. And see, I can be happy and content with who I am. I can be comfortable with who I am. I don't have to blend in to another culture to appreciate the aspects of that culture. I don't have to imitate them to appreciate who they are. I can do that and still be who I am. And hell, maybe even identify certain parts of myself in that particular culture. And I've done that before. I've done that before in the workplace. I've done that before at school. And it's actually fun. It's fun to do that. You know? It's fun to bring your differences to the table. And not try to hide them or not try to, cover up who you are. Just be who you are. And do it in a positive way. If you do that, you might come to find that people of different cultures actually appreciate the fact that you did that. That you weren't afraid to be yourself. I mean, I'm sure at one point in time, everybody has spent a great deal of time with somebody else of a different culture and seen the way that they react to the world around them, seen the way that they respond, seen what they bring to the table, seen what they have to offer to the rest of humanity, and even come to identify with the way that they think in certain circumstances, and even appreciate it. And maybe that's the answer. Maybe stuff like that is the answer to our racial division. Maybe we need to just bring it straight forth, you know, forefronting, you know. You know what's funny about racist people? They have their formed opinions and everything. They have their own racist logic and their pre-assumptions, their presuppositions about certain races and how they think they operate. But I guarantee you that most of those people have not taken the time to actually get to know somebody of another particular race. And so really all they have, all their weaponry, is just that. It's all speculation. It's all presupposition. It's nothing. They have no armory to uphold what they believe in. They have no weaponry. Because they won't even take the time to open up their mind for long enough to test their theory. You know what I'm saying? And that's the pathetic thing about it. But I've given you guys a lot to think about if you're still there, if you're still listening to what I'm saying. I wanted to talk about these things, and, you know, there was a whole other lot of things that I wanted to talk about, but I guess I'll just save it for the next video. As far as like going back to the ontological aspect of things, you know, like the truth of your being versus the way of your being. Because that's really what I was planning on talking about, and then I just kind of trailed off in this whole other different direction. But I feel like I said what I wanted to say overall for now. But I'll make another video about ontology and what I want to say about that kind of stuff. So if you guys are enjoying these deep kind of videos that I'm making where I'm talking about this deep stuff, then come back, because I'm going to continue to pour my heart out to you and share my thoughts, the things that I think about, the things that the Holy Spirit talks to me about. I feel like, you know, every time I have an emotionally negative experience, I feel like that's the perfect opportunity to try to open up my ears to try to understand what the Spirit is trying to say to me, to what God would say about the way that I'm reacting and why I'm reacting this way. And I don't ever have to accept it, even though I might have a reaction and I might react in a certain way on the outside that doesn't, I don't have to agree with that. Even if I say something, I can instantaneously cancel it out and say, you know what, that's wrong. I shouldn't be talking like that. I shouldn't say those things. It's not true. And I can automatically decline that statement and say, no, that's not really who I am. I can take it back. Every time I ignorantly pass judgment, I can take it back and say, you know what, that's not true at all. I'm wrong. And I will happily and fully admit that I'm wrong. So that's when I start opening up my spiritual ears to try to hear from God what God's saying to me about certain things, so that ultimately I can grow as a human being. But since the sun is blinding us, I'm going to call it with that. I hope you guys enjoyed. Come back for the next one. Take care. God bless. I'll see you next time. Later.